Hey, everybody. Hey, Jodi.
Hey, Amanda. Good morning for me.
Yes, good afternoon for
Yeah.
myself. Um, hey, everybody. My name's Amanda Tosoff. And
And I'm Jodi Proznick, and we are two of the three of the trio from Music Arts Collective, our new music education hub. And
and today we have a very special guest on our Sunday live stream, the wonderful Heather Bambrick, who, if you don't know, and you probably know her, but if you don't, she's a fantastic Juno-nominated jazz vocalist. She's a Jazz FM and JAZZCAST.ca radio personality, Emmy Award-winning voice actor, and an educator. And she sits on the advisory of the Council of Music Canada. So she's really, really busy and just a wonderful person as well. So yeah, we're gonna do a chat about what she's up to and the state of play for music creators in 2020, and maybe a little bit about her release, definitely about her new Christmas release, which we'll show you later.
You betcha. So before we welcome Heather on, let's take a little bit of a moment to check in with where you guys are from. So I see a few people chiming in right now. So if you are chiming in, why don't you just type in the chat where you are from and where you're tuning in from, because, you know, this is the World Wide Web. So we want to know where you are in the world. And maybe one more little question. Maybe you have a favorite artist that you're currently listening to. Maybe you woke up this morning and you listened to something. And so what are you checking out these days? We want to know. We totally want to know.
And Jodi, what's yours right now?
Oh, do you know what? This morning, I was putting together a playlist for the webinar I'm doing this afternoon, actually, called Great Canadian Jazz Couples. So I was listening to Lila Bialy and Ben Whitman and Nancy Walker and Kieran Overs and Jen Scott and Renee Wurst. So I was busy hanging out with that playlist this morning. Yeah, it was fun.
Amazing.
How about you? How about you?
Well, I was actually enjoying listening to our lovely guest, Heather Bambrick. One of her CDs, it's a couple CDs back now. It's called You'll Never Know. And actually, it was the CD that was nominated in the same category as mine in 2017. Ooh. So we were competitors. Just joking. But yeah, and I have to admit, at the time, I actually streamed it. I checked it out then, but I streamed it, which is a horrible way to support artists. Sorry, Heather. So I decided to download it. So, and her version of My Ship, it's so gorgeous.
Oh, I know.
Marquise Wetter, Ross McIntyre, Davide Dorenzo, and some other great special guests. So, wonderful album. She's got another couple albums since then, or one album since then, and a new release. So go check them out. So fantastic.
Yes. So I have had the great pleasure of working with Heather a number of times. She's been out to the West Coast. We met in Brandon years ago and hit it off. She's a huge heart. She has the heart the size of Newfoundland. She does. And so much personality and so much celebratory energy for not just all the stuff that she's involved in, but really a cheerleader for many, many, many of us. And yes, she's just like an amazing. In fact, she and I did a little tour last summer before COVID hit with my project Sun Songs, and we did a mashup of our two albums, which were we both wrote music and created these records in honor of people in our family that we had lost and loved. So it was a very heartfelt collaboration. It was great fun.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you didn't just notice, we actually just name dropped all three of our Juno-nominated albums, and not because we want you guys to go buy it, although we do want you to go buy it, but because we do want to open up a conversation today about that very topic. So we're going to talk to Heather and talk about her new project and hopefully entice you to go buy those 3 CDs later.
The state of play for music creators. I mean, all 3 of us pour hearts and souls into these albums. So we're just going to talk about what it's like from a performer, but also the industry point of view, which Heather has some wonderful insight on that. So let's welcome our very, very, very special guest, Heather Bambrick. Let's give her a round of applause. Hurrah! Hurrah!
Hello, Heather.
I was grinning so much when I was in my waiting room. You guys just make me smile. Yeah, the backstage area, it's so great. So great. So I was like sitting there and I was responding, and then the computer said, "They have you on mute." So I was with you, even when I was
amazing.
We muted you. Yes, we did. Yes. Oh my gosh. So Heather, we're going to ask you just to share a little bit about your journey to music and what drew you to jazz and to singing.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Newfoundland, where, as you know, I mean, Jodi, you were there adjudicating at the Kiwanis Festival. I think it was it Kiwanis that you were at? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And Amanda, you played Newfoundland? You must have toured and played in Newfoundland.
You know what? Just once with Emily Claire a couple Christmases ago.
Yeah. You gotta get there on your own.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
They'll love you there.
I'd love to be there.
huge choral community and choral, sort of a heritage. And that's really where I learned to sing. And I didn't know that it was challenging. And, I remember when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, singing in a choir that our music teacher at the time had put together from all the kids from grades 5 through 9, put us all in this choir, and we were singing in German and Gaelic and Latin and French and traditional Newfoundland folk and, the legit choral rep, and singing in 4-part harmony. And we didn't know it was hard because she didn't tell us it was hard. So she just lit this spark. And so that was kind of when, that spark was lit in me. And I just went, oh, I love this. I loved the sound, that they talk about the OxyContin. You get your oxymorons all lit up. the endorphins that are released when voices sing in harmony and you're a part of it. You get it anyway when you listen. You get it even more so when you are singing in it and a part of it and creating it. So I loved that. So I just, I wanted to sing in choirs. And then I was in a choir and we were singing a rendition of Well, All Right, Okay, You Win. And my director at the time, Valerie Long, God love her, said, Heather, she was playing the piano. She went, Heather, scat. And I went, didn't know what I was doing, but I had this beautiful feeling of freedom. Like I just could create right then and there. So I loved that moment. And then I thought, this is kind of fun. Got in another choir, blah, 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 a little more jazz. My dad listened to jazz, but he was a sax player. Part-time, and he loved listening to instrumental stuff, a little bit of, vocal as well. So, but I didn't connect with his music the same way. Mm-hmm. Then when I started singing it, then suddenly I went back and listened to his stuff and went, oh, and I had those moments. And then I applied to a couple of schools and got in at U of T and thought, all right, Toronto, here I come. And went to school at U of T. And then from there, just continued working. And it's kind of like I have this attitude of whatever knock is on my door, I'm going to open it and see, and maybe let it in for a little while. And I might then invite it to stay for dinner or even hang out for the weekend. Or I might just say, thanks for stopping by. See ya, but I like the idea of opening doors and seeing what opportunities are going to walk through and then seeing where that will lead me. Because quite honestly, everything, like Amanda, the intro that you read, which I appreciate, but all of the things, my experiences have all come from just saying, hi, opportunity at my door, come on in.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And I think you have to be open to saying yes, despite the scariness of it. And, even your inexperience. And Jodi, you and I have talked about that when I came out to play with you in BC. I still remember when we drove to Lions Bay. And,
I remember.
We were talking. I mean, it was actually an exceptional moment because there's this beauty all around us.
Yeah.
We're about to make this great music together with this wonderful audience. And we're having these really intense conversations about life and about just doing it, just going for it, and putting your heart into things. So it's 100%. Kind of all come from there. Yeah.
100%. That's really the nature of improvising and jazz and playing in community with people, that this kind of music, it is about kind of being on the edge and having this collaborative group around you that are like, we've got you, if you drop a beat, we'll move with you. We were just chatting about this with the coaching a group at school. Like if you drop a beat, the whole idea is to not go, hey, what's wrong with you? It's like, we got you. It's okay. Right? We're in process, right? So,
do you ever see that video that Harry Connick Jr. did where he's doing a television show in, I think, Eastern Europe somewhere, and he started playing, And he started with the piano opening, right? And then the audience is clapping on 1 and 3. And he knows that when the band comes in, it might not feel as good if they're clapping on 1 and 3. So as he's soloing and he's laying into it, as he solos, he plays 1 bar of 5 and then turns it around and brings the up. So when the band comes in, everybody's clapping on 2 and 4, and they didn't notice a thing. But it's that idea of moving with it, of supporting, of not like going, hey, hang on, guys, can you guys clap like this instead?
Yeah.
Like
Just work with what is and adjust so that there's resonance or harmony or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess that whole idea of yes and, right?
Yes and.
Which is the golden rule of improv.
Yeah.
Like regular improv. There's no such thing as no, which is yes and.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we do.
I love it.
100%.
Amazing. Well, speaking of like opening doors, so in addition to obviously being a wonderful musician and writer and you're also and voice actor, you're also a radio host for Jazz FM and JAZZCAST.ca. And so I'm curious, what's the story there? Like, how did you get into that? What drew you into that world?
Well, I did a show in, oh gosh, I don't even know how many years ago. I'm going to say 25 maybe years ago, because I'm old. And Brian Snelson, who does the market stuff, he's now a member of the board of directors at Jazz FM 91, but he was doing some market reporting because he's a financial advisor. And he was a friend of a friend who happened to come to my show. And we were chatting afterwards, and he said, yeah, I said, do you have any recordings or anything? And I had just done a little, 6-8 song EP. And he said, have you brought it down to the station? And I said, no. And he said, if you have a copy, I'll bring it down. He did. They played a track on the air, which I almost drove off the road when I heard it. I remember it being in my car listening. And then it's a publicly funded radio station. So it's unlike a lot of other things where, the big conglomerate of stations all pump money in. It's run almost completely on donor funding. So they have these fundraising drives. And they invited me to come down and help with the fundraising. And I did, and it went well. And then I kept getting asked to come back with help with fundraising. And then eventually the former station manager asked me to pitch a show, which I did. But then transitions happened. And then a new manager came in and a new programming director, who was Brad Barker. And Brad said, how about you pitch a show? And I said, well, I did pitch a show like a while ago. I said, yeah, but that was then. This is now. So let's hear what you have to say. So I started doing a show called Sing, 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 which was focused entirely on singers. And they kind of wanted that. They wanted a song about vocalists from a vocal perspective. And then from there, it spun off to Sunday Afternoon Jazz. And then that spun off to, I did the morning show, like the early morning, like 6 to 10 a.m., which with Jodi is probably when you were going to bed in your neck of the woods.
Yes.
And then took a break. There was some, so it was some disruption. There was some unrest. And then I came back and have been doing my show Monday to Friday. During that period of unrest, there were a few hosts that had been working together. We got along really, really well. We both had the idea of still, supporting artists, supporting the music, presenting it the way we wanted to. And so we got together and did that and formed JAZZCAST, which is an online platform. But it still operates like a radio station. Like there's still 24-hour programming. We love getting, there's some art, like a lot of artists are doing shows. So it's a totally different sound and it's a different platform. We got terrestrial radio with Jazz FM 91 and then JAZZCAST is the online radio content. So, but it's just something that happened and I said yes. And it's been great.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It reminds me of this whole, idea that sometimes people see things in you don't see in yourself yet.
Right.
And they just go, hey, do you want to do this thing? And sometimes you're like, really? Oh, okay. Or,
yeah.
Right. Well, I'm sure that's happened to all three of us. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, I don't feel totally prepared for this thing that you're inviting me into, but there's something in me that's saying, do it, just do it.
Well, how many times, like, I mean, if each of us look back, because it's funny, I have the cameras up there, but then when I look at each of your faces, I'm looking down there. Like, if each of us looked back 20, 30 years ago, well, for me, it's 20, 30 years ago, and said, what do you think you're going to be doing? Right? It would have been possibly completely different things unless there was some sort of predisposition towards doing something like what it is that we're doing. And we're all doing different things. I mean, look at what you guys have created. This is amazing. I was talking about this on air the other day at Jazz FM. I was, because it's an incredible place for artists and musicians and people, you know, interested to come together and share ideas and thoughts and exactly what you're doing, stories and insights and experiences and.
Yeah.
But even 10 years ago, would you have thought, well, we're going to create an online, you know, music hub for mentorship
even
and
6
education?
months ago.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, this has happened very fast. Yeah. We're still feeling like we're like, it's like, you know, gestation period. Like, like we're only in 6 months in. We still have another like 3 months to like really birth the thing. But it's I mean, life is way beyond this. I always say this to students. I don't know if you guys say this too. Like if we think back to, well, we'll talk about this a little bit later, Heather, but if you think back to teenage you and say, do you know what? Okay, so Amanda, you're gonna be touring all over with Emily Claire Barlow, who is amazing, and you're gonna be playing in all these gorgeous spaces and places. You're gonna have had the chance to play with all the people you have. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna be nominated for a Juno. You're gonna have a master's. You're gonna be teaching in Humber. You're gonna be, you know, your partner's gonna be this amazing guy who does all these amazing things, and you know, or Heather, you're gonna be living, you know, having this full life you have. You're going to be a radio actor or voiceover actor, you know, all this stuff. If you would have said to that 16-year-old person, I would have been like, what? Like, I don't think I'm going to do music. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think I want to do medicine, you know? Right? Yeah. Or you know, I'm just going to hang out with, I think I'm going to take a year off and hang out with my boyfriend. Like, you know, so beyond what we could even imagine. And so when you just stay open to possibilities, it's amazing what can happen. And I think all three of us too, one of the common why we all love each other is that we're 110%. We always give a wholehearted, and it is what it is. You know, there's people who may be better at it or worse than it, or who knows. We're 110%. And that just wholeheartedness and sense of, sort of dedication to the whatever it is in front of us, I think is a huge factor too, and to how things kind of come along, I think.
Yeah, that might even lend us to becoming exhausted, you know, because you do. I mean, the one thing that I always feared being was jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
You know? And I think that because the creative mind and the creator in this industry particularly has to do all that stuff, you know, like Amanda, you with the technology and the doing all of this. I mean, you've got a handle on this that I don't yet have. I hope to have it one day, but you know, all the different hats that we have to wear by virtue of the fact that we're working in an ever-changing industry. Mm-hmm. And then when we do give 100% to it, or 110%, or sometimes 150%, it's very easy to become depleted.
Yeah.
You know, and then to question and go, oh gosh, you know, am I doing enough? Am I doing this? But Jodi, your attitude is great, which is like, I can only do my best. I can only do what I can do. And if it's appreciated and people get it, it's like, oh, great. Cool. Thanks. Cool. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We really want to focus a little bit the conversation, although because I know it can go in so many different places, but we know that you are really an interesting person to chat with because you are on the bandstand, and kind of part of the supportive industry piece as well. So through your radio hosting, also you're on the board, the advisory board for Music Canada.
Yeah.
So let's just be honest too. I mean, I think everyone can look at our Facebook and Instagram and think, oh, wow, look at them. They're doing all these things and it's so great. And wow, it's so impressive. And yeah, sure. There's a lot of parts of all of our lives, I think that, you know, that people will aspire to. But the reality is that the music industry is in a really difficult situation right now. Yeah. That when we all started out, there were certain things in place that are no longer in existence. Right. So our mentors couldn't even really have predicted where we're at now and have given us any clue on how to make sure you're navigating correctly, because as I said, the online streaming world and the sharing of music digitally has transform the industry in ways we're still grappling with. So I just want to know, Heather, like, you know, what's your thinking on all of this? Where are we now? Where are we headed? If you have any idea, what's happening behind the scenes, what conversations are happening behind the scenes. And for those of us who are in it and kind of in this inhalation period, is there anything we can all do to prepare ourselves, to arm ourselves to, it's almost like stockpile the rice in the pantry. Like, what can we do? I know that's a big question. That's probably like an hour-long conversation, but anything you can share would be great.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I was looking at some of the comments. Mark Eisenman is listening right now, and Mark knows we've had conversations about this even recently, about this and talking about the changes in the business and the industry over the years. Music Canada, the being on the advisory committee for that has been eye-opening, mind-blowing. The main part that I'm appreciative of what they're doing is closing the value gap in music. So the value gap is basically, you know, income that is created by music creation, be it, you know, YouTube collecting data on their users, using that to get advertising money off the backs of the musicians who are providing the content. And then the money that is coming in for the content creators. And the value gap is just, you can't even, it's going on, my hands are going off the screen because that's what's happening with the value gap. It has been shown by, you know, in study after study going back the last number of years by people in the industry who are watching it to be the biggest threat to the music industry. And that's on a grand scale. All the other little mini things that we talk about, those are all just part and parcel of that big picture, that big problem. So, I mean, the biggest thing, I think that, you know, one of the biggest things is there are a number of things that will help. They're looking at copyright reform because legislation, as we all know from dealing with even something as simple as, you know, trying to get property tax address bills changed. You know, it's like government moves at a particular pace for a number of reasons. Technology moves at a completely different pace. And they need because of the discrepancy with which they're moving, you know, between the paces at which they're moving, there's no way legislation is helping artists at this point. So trying to change copyright laws, trying to change some of the loopholes that are out there, you know, things like, for example, UUCs or user upload. I think it's UCC, user content creators, or I gotta remember. Anyway, basically it's YouTube. So it's the organizations, the platforms where the content is created by the user. So Amanda, you mentioned the single that I just put out. So we got the video and I uploaded it to YouTube because that's what you have to do. Because if you want to get it out there, huge numbers of people are using YouTube now. The majority of YouTube users are using it for music. And YouTube is now marketing itself as a music source. But when it comes to copyright laws, they are protected because their argument is when there's copyright infringement, well, we're not doing the copyright infringement. We're merely the medium through which the material comes. So that would be almost like saying, you know, the city is responsible for the driving infractions that happen on the roadway. It's in fact the drivers that are causing the problems because they're exceeding the speed limit, unsafe driving. Right. And that's what YouTube is saying. They're saying, don't blame us. We're just the road. The drivers are the problem.
Right.
But in fact, they are creating the resource. They are creating the opportunities for people to rip stuff from YouTube and change it into MP3s and put it on playlists and share it with people and. So, you know, you're fighting that battle. And you're fighting a battle against huge technology companies with money to burn. And a lot of times we artists just say, well, we don't have, well, what do we do? Like, I mean, you look at unions and what unions have done. As an actor, I know that there's a lot of good in the ACTRA union that I'm a part of. The musicians union sometimes is a little more handcuffed. And it's because we think it's us versus them as opposed to us all together. We as musicians should be uniting. A union is not a bad thing, but we have to unite with vision and drive and resource and someone to go to tap on the shoulders of everybody going, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Music Canada is doing. And because of the opportunities that they have and the unique position they are in, they do have the ears of legislators. I have been in meetings with both at the provincial and federal level, the ministers who are responsible for, tourism and arts and education and entertainment and, all of those other areas and industries where music creation is important and where the legislation affects us. So they're hearing us. If we continue to be the squeaky wheels, we will get the grease, hopefully more quickly than before. But so I think, so that's one part of it. You're right, Jodi. God, we could talk about this. I think we are responsible for letting people know about this. The Spotify thing. Now's the time when everybody's sharing their Spotify numbers.
I know, right?
And Amanda, I don't remember someone posted on Facebook the other day and you commented and you kind of agreed. You're like, yeah, we all have to do it. We're all, we kind of want to do it because we are working towards that. But at the same time, what does that get for us? Mm-hmm. I just, because I know you like stats, Proznick.
I do. Give me stats.
So Zoe Keating was a cellist. She worked with Imogen Heap. She worked with Thomas Dolby. She worked with Tears for Fears. Obviously, a lot of UK artists. She disclosed her YouTube earnings. Her royalty statements comparing YouTube and Spotify. YouTube, she had 1.42 million views on YouTube, which made her $261. The 1.42 million views made her $261. Spotify, 230,000 streams. 230,000 streams made her $940. We need to stream millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of times in order to make any money. Spotify and other platforms that allow streaming to happen, they're not going to take the lead because they're looking at the loopholes that are there for organizations like YouTube, and they're going to say, well, look, they're not paying royalties. Why should we? So their royalty rates are really low because they don't have to be much higher because legislation is protecting the other organizations. So I think we as artists need to make consumers aware of that. I got onto my social media platforms the other day when the new CD came or the new release came out, and I said, here it is. We'd love to share it with you. Yes, the very first thing we did was put it out on YouTube. And what happened? We got thousands of views on the YouTube thing, and maybe 2 people bought the single.
Yeah.
So then I followed up with, it's now available on the following platforms. And may I remind you that an organization like Bandcamp that gives so much back to artists, at least 75% is going back, sometimes 85% is going back to the artist. And on certain days, like Bandcamp Fridays, 100% is going back to the artist. If you want to support artists, that is a great way to do it. Go directly to their websites, buy directly from the artist. Go through organizations that have the best, return to artists. And we can't expect the consumer, not every consumer is joining consumer reporting, comparing all this stuff. So we as artists may have to become a little more responsible for informing our clients, if you will, about what is best for us. And I think organizations like Music Canada are doing it. They're trying to do that. They're trying to get the message out there to artists, but they're also trying to get the message to the government legislators that are making these changes possible. And there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work involved with it.
Holy moly.
Right?
Well, I mean, and the thing, it's become so obvious right now because let's just be frank, our income, even the big names, most of their big money comes from concerts, so live shows. So it's been interesting because even some of the big names, you're seeing them, now so-and-so has a masterclass, right? Or like they're looking for other ways to engage their audiences using digital platforms that generate some income, and they cash in on the cultural capital that they've acquired or merch, right? Merchandise. Yeah. So when all of the gigs dried up for everyone, it literally is like no one's making any money. And I was like, well, look at all the albums you have. And those are basically like, flyers. This is just like an entry pointer. It's a way of getting gigs. I mean, and getting concerts. And that's why, it's not sustainable. And again, I'm super optimistic, Queen. It's almost like this has made A lot of things, the pandemic has made things so obvious for so many people that it's like, well, it's a quickening agent. Like, well, you know, conversations are happening in different ways. I mean, Amanda and I have talked a lot. We're, you know, trying to get our understanding of how business works. And I think artists sometimes too are a little bit like, I just want to make my songs and I don't want to have to think of as a business. But one of the things that's lacking is this idea of like, the minute you decide to be an artist, you are a self-employed small business, and you have to start thinking that way. And you have to start thinking about money, not as something icky and yucky, but like you are worthy of what you have to offer the world is worthy and is worth something.
Yeah. And right? I don't think we need to, not every artist needs to go into this thinking they want to get to, you know, Taylor Swift levels. No. You know, I mean,
you want to.
Well, I would not say no. Put it that
way. Well, as a jazz vocalist, a jazz bassist, the probability is a lot more, unless you sing like Esperanza Spalding. But anyway, it's fine.
Well, I've heard you sing. I think it's possible. I'm just saying. And you're already writing vocal records. So both of you have. I love that you're both, you know, mainly instrumentalists, but you've written vocal records. I mean, you know, but it's that accessibility, you know. The vast majority of people speak in the language of word as opposed to the language of, you know, tonic, subtonic. So, you know,
and I have to.
I was just going to say, you know, I think the idea of worthiness is a great thing. It's a great term to use. And again, it's just about, you know, living a comfortable life. And that idea, like, you are worthy of that. You don't have to be, I know some people want to be, I'm going to be the struggling artist. What does that mean? Like, I'm not going to sell out to the man. Well, what does selling out to the man mean? If you can keep your artistic integrity intact and still, you know, make your rent payments or pay your mortgage or, you know, whatever the case may be, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
You know?
It's a win-win.
That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amanda, you wanted to say something about writing for...
Oh, no, I was going to say that I'm a closeted singer, but the moment had passed. But one day I'll do something.
You know, anyway. There's so many people that are doing, like Brandy on her latest record.
Yeah.
Brandy's been singing more, Brandy Disterheft. You know, listen, okay, at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, listen, stay in your own lane, ladies. Back off. But, you know, I know darn well there's no way I'm playing bass or piano as well as you two. So, you know, I'm not pulling into that lane.
Oh, never say never, Heather. Never say never. Never.
Yeah, that's true. I know, right? If my ukulele career takes off, you never know.
Oh, I love
Amazing.
I love it.
This is super fascinating, and I feel so happy that you're involved with this organization and that you're going to bat for artists. Like, I think that's just amazing and yeah, hopeful.
Well, you know, I have to credit, you know, I mean, Graham Henderson was the guy who got me involved with Music Canada. And Graham has a particular way of looking at things because he's married to an artist. His wife is Margot Timmons from Cowboy Junkies. And they are, you know, while they are successful, they're also very artistically minded in the way they approach music. And to Graham's credit, he really wants to hear from artists and he wants to hear from independent artists. And he is always on the side of the user, not the user creator, but the artist creator. And so, you know, Amanda Martinez is on the advisory committee and Miranda Mulholland, who is relentlessly pursuing things that are right when it comes to artists. I mean, they've really done a great job of getting so many different, there are legal minds, there are industry, you know, label minds, there are creative minds, there are producing minds, there are media minds, you know, Errol Nazareth, you know, from the CBC, they're getting all kinds of a good cross section of artists, people who are producing festivals, you know, it's all there.
Amazing.
But, you know, the artist input has been really important. And I keep on, every time there's a new meeting created, every time I get a little, okay, we're gonna have another meeting next month, I keep on thinking, wow, they're still doing this. They're still interested in hearing from us. And they are, and that's what's great. But I think all artists need to get involved in this. And you know, we don't all need to go show up and speak to the House of Commons, but we at least need to speak to the people who are buying our music, you know? And at least tell them, you know, advise them the best way. Because human nature is such that we're going to try to, you know, if you can get something on sale, why are you going to pay full price? You know, I mean, God, I'm from Newfoundland. We're the biggest bargain hunters around, you know? So it's hard to tell. It's the same thing with Jazz FM 91 when we're trying to do, the fundraising. It's hard to tell people who listen to radio for free that they should now start paying for it. But ultimately, it's almost like being this social democracy in music. It's about taking care of each other, particularly those who are taking care of your spirit and your soul during times like a pandemic, when having music and having artists give their time for good causes, for fundraising events, for this, that, and the other thing online, that's what's getting you through. Or being able to put a CD on, or your turn your phone on and listen to music on your phone from your favorite artist that will make you go, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those artists, we can't do it without
we have to eat.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Well, not even, we have to eat it. We need, to make that last single. I mean, I'm still tallying up the money, right?
Yeah.
I think that last single costs somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 to make one record. I'm not going to make that back.
No.
There's no way in hell I'm going to make that back.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So that's what we're all doing is like, okay, this is who we are. This is what we need to do. We create and we share. But I don't think people have any idea. And this is jazz. I mean, jazz albums, because of the high level of performance ability of jazz musicians, we can go in and knock off an album in a day or two that is stunning, right? In the pop and rock world, it takes a lot longer because there's just a lot more to the production of it, and it's a lot more about kind of creating in the studio and all the detail stuff. And with jazz, we tend to be more live off the floor, like a live performance, which is kind of amazing because when you listen to those jazz albums, understand that this is most of the time happening in real time. Like people just do one take and that's it, and they sound friggin' perfect. So in some ways, our albums in the jazz world are done as efficiently as possible because you get to a point where you can do that quickly. And I always say, like when I'm chatting with history students and stuff, it's like those of us who are studio type musicians back in the day, we would have been like, I mean, there are guys on the scene who are older who made great money because of that skill set, because they could walk in and play so beautifully, so quickly that they're on all these albums and everything. And there was all this money for that and sort of an industry that supported, working musicians, studio musicians.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't really exist in the same way anymore. And it's just, it's a question of, I'm trying to stay just curious, like, okay, how's this all going to work out? Because it's not like music's going to go away. It's just, how do we adapt? It's like survival of the fittest.
It is.
I know.
We're also fighting against technology in other ways.
Yeah.
There's a group of students, I think in Israel, who just received a prize, a technology-based prize. It was literally last week, for creating software that will replicate spontaneously created jazz solos. I kid you not. I mean, now it doesn't have the same freedom and the same heart that live music does, but they were able to create the technology that would allow, they of course put in the input, the data, everything they needed. And, I mean, this is a really easy way to say, put it all in, they press start. But the technology then created based on the knowledge of harmony, the rules and regulations that they put in place. They could create spontaneous jazz solos. So now, I look at people who are creating artists or creating music for film and television work, for commercials, for all that sort of thing. There are these huge cattle calls that go out now. And Jodi, to your point, gone are the days when the guys here in the city would, hang out at the Montreal Bistro and call over to Manta Sound, the studio, to find out what kind of work was there. Because it was literally like that. It was like back in the fishing days of Newfoundland, where you put a sock in and you come up with half a dozen fish. And it's the same thing back in the day. You could, all the gigs, there was a lot of gigs in town that, a lot of places in town that offered a week-long gig at the Bistro or the Town Tavern or George's or the Senator or whatever. And then the studio sessions, they used live musicians because technology wasn't able to replicate that the same way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And technology is changing now, and we're having to fight against computers for certain things. So, all the idea of bringing the heart into it, the idea of bringing all of that into it, the efficiency, as you said, Joe, like, we can go in and say that, and I'm seeing it with actors too. We're going, union versus non-union. Actors can go in and bang off a commercial and make it sound legit because they're good actors. It's not just about having a good voice. It's about being an actor. So you can go in, and if they say, we need to hear you raise your left eyebrow on that line, a good voice actor can do it. You go in and you deliver it like it's like,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you hear the raised eyebrow.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who just has a good voice and doesn't have the same training will go in and not be able to do it. So you're spending time in the studio to get the quality that you could get so quickly, by having someone who's trained and knows what they're doing and that sort of thing. So I think it's maybe reminding people that's what you get when you get us,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
It's fascinating. It's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
It's like,
Really,
and with no answers.
Yeah. Very
It's just
challenging.
more conversation. But I think I'm loving that we're having this publicly because we all have it behind closed doors.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important. And for those who are fans of the music, to understand sort of what's going on. So I think we should do our speed round now.
Okay.
We always do our
Yes,
top 5
and-
speed round.
And we have a tendency to not make it speedy because we love to talk and there's so much we could talk about, but we're going to make it speedy. And I think we should involve our listeners. And
Okay.
So as we ask Heather our questions, why don't you guys type your answers too?
Don't
I wanna read-
overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just type
like
the first thought.
Right away.
Boom.
Okay. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Okay. Am I going first?
You go first.
Okay. Okay. What musician, dead or alive, would you like to have dinner with?
I'd like to have a group dinner with Ella Fitzgerald and Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, amazing.
Okay. What
Okay.
artist, other than the three of us, do you recommend to our listeners to go and listen to or buy this holiday season?
Lila Bialy. I'm always a fan of Lila's. Lila, I'm loving what Bocana is doing, Emily Claire Barlow and Steve Webster. And my latest absolute obsession is Sage, which is Sarah Gazarek,
So good.
Amanda Taylor, Sarah Gazarek, Erin Bentledge, and Johnny Kendrick. They're ridiculous, but you have to go to their website because they haven't released anything, so you have to download it. But it's so good.
Right. Go to people's websites and download and buy from their website. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
So here's my favorite. Oh, sorry, Amanda, your turn.
Okay. Well, you just mentioned a bunch, but what's your favorite vocalist? All-time favorite vocalist?
All-time favorite vocal, Linda Ronstadt and Katie Lang combined.
Okay. Awesome.
Both. Okay, that's why I love you. Okay, so you have an amazing show on jazzcast.ca that I've actually been on called
you have.
Sip Happens.
Yep.
So what's your favorite holiday beverage, Heather?
Oh, bar none. Rum eggnog with some skim milk.
Yeah.
And preferably Screech.
Ah.
Yeah, Screech is good. I gotta say, it's good with the eggnog.
All right. Okay. Last question. If you were going to go back in time and talk to your 15-year-old self, what sentence would you tell her?
Stay on top of technology as best you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
As we're learning
Timely.
right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think mistakes, you have to make them. You got to make them because you learn from them, So that, and maybe pay your parking tickets when you get them. It's also
Amazing. Well, so much fun. Thank you so much for being here.
Are you kidding me?
Heather?
Thank you for having me. I can't believe where the time has gone. This is
I know.
Yeah,
Time flies when you're having fun.
yeah, absolutely. And there are some really great comments from Jason and Mark and Mark in the comment thing, and some really good points that maybe people can check out and read from them. And Jason was talking about being supporting artists and not having a lot of money to spend and all that sort of thing. And if I could throw in one thought about that, this is where the idea, we all heard of Patreon, right? Patreon is this online platform that allows artists to be supported by, just like they did back in the day. Centuries ago, musicians had patrons who were wealthy people who supported their art because they themselves were too busy making the art to worry about how to make supporting it. And we're back in that situation right now where there's so much going on that we artists we want to be able to focus on one thing. And so an organization like Patreon allows that to happen. And I would love to think that the people who have been blessed enough financially and I know a lot of them who do this, the people who have been blessed enough financially will support as best they can. So this is where the utopian socialist in me comes through, where it doesn't come down on the backs of all the consumers who, as Jason was saying, not everybody has the money to spend. And just because you don't have a lot of money, if you're in a lower income bracket, that shouldn't deny you the opportunity to hear music. So I would love to see people who are blessed enough to be at a certain level can come in and support and allow it to be available for everybody, and then get something. They should be able to get something back, whether it's a tax break or something that rewards them for supporting the arts, and then allows the arts to continue and allows everybody to be able to consume the arts regardless of their income level. I would love to see that happen.
And let's just be honest too. The really big cultural organizations in Canada, all the orchestras and all the art galleries, do rely on patrons. So this isn't out of the ordinary. And I think that the smaller folk like us, I think the jazz community has been particularly bad at organizing the way the classical music has.
Here, Jodi.
Right? Like we actually, why don't we have jazz orchestras in every major city with patrons and in a major concert hall? I'm just going to put that out there. Hey, all the orchestras, why don't you do what the Lincoln Center does and hire your amazing person in town to be the artistic director of a jazz orchestra and commission works and bring in, why not do that and spread some of the love outside of the classical music world? The same thing with visual art. I mean, dance, they all do it, right? So, so it's not out of the ordinary. And I think you're right with Patreon. In fact, Amanda and I have talked about launching Patreon for music arts because we really do want to make this accessible information as much as we can, which is why we do these live streams. But we do have some paid content. So on that front, for anyone's interested in supporting what we're doing, come on over to our website. At the very least, just sign up for our mailing list. And then if there's something that piques your interest, the other thing I think you can do is share the social media stuff that turns you on. Because algorithms count and matter. So when you share stuff by your favorite people, because it resonates with you. I mean, don't just do it, everything, because then people tune that out too. But if you love something, if there's a piece of music, share it. That's very, very helpful too. Yeah. Very helpful.
And on a personal note, for me, I like hearing why you're sharing it. So, because, we always talk about, I can share things randomly and do things. But when you're asked to share, do you want to comment on it?
Yeah.
Put in a couple of thoughts about why this is, why this is important to you. And because that's the connection, that's the human connection.
Yeah. It matters.
That match the algorithms,
Right?
Absolutely.
How much, Amanda, have you ever had a comment show up that, I love this so much, and you just open it and you're like, wow, that's so lovely that someone took the time to write a note that they like the music or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Absolutely.
And I think I know from even fundraising at Jazz FM 91. You don't get it if you don't ask, and honestly, by putting it out there and just saying, this is what we'd love for you to do, and are open and honest about it, I think sometimes people will listen and come forward and go, oh, it's amazing how many people get that head to and go, oh, I didn't know that was the case with the music. Yeah, it is. So be honest and open about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was a super inspiring chat.
Yeah.
And I wish we could go on and on because there's so much we could get into.
We'll have to do part 2.
Okay, I'll happily do part 2, and with rum and eggnog in hand as opposed to water and lime juice. But thank you to you guys for what you're doing too. I mean, the brainchild that is this wonderful arts music hub. You know what I mean? Like Music Arts Collective. This is a huge thing, and you've dreamed this up, and so thank you for doing it and for giving us platforms to do this. Here's to more of this.
Yeah. Well, and we're all in this together. This is why it's a collective. Amanda and I both chatted about the exhaustion of imagining trying to do this on our own. And we jazz musicians, we're family. We play together. So we want to, again, give platforms for people like you have, where we're kind of accompanying you in this moment. You can speak your truth and speak what's on your mind and share your beautiful art with the world. And we're here to offer spaces and places for people to do that. And for people who are curious about creating their own art, to access good, solid information. So
Yeah, and we'll get the word out. Like, I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep sending people to this website, to musicartscollective.com. And there's looking at the names of the people who are commenting on here. Lisa Buck, I mean, she is a trailblazer.
We love Lisa.
Oh, boy, do we ever. You know, people, there are musicians on here. Mark Lemieux, who's a huge supporter. There's some people on here who, they already get it. But if we can get more people who are like this and getting it and passing it on, even better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why don't we end with a new track? Do you want to tell us what this track's about?
So this year's been, you know, we can't sugarcoat it. It's been horrible. We talked about it offline, you know, before we went live. It's been a really crazy year. And it's affected people in many, many, many different ways. And Diane Leah, with whom I play in Broadway, Diane and I have been writing together for the last few years. We put a tune that we wrote on my last record, and we released a couple of Christmas singles now, including this one. So I was getting together for a safe, masked distance visit with her, and we said, you know, let's write. Next time we get together, let's write. So I said, I want to write something that is truthful about what we're going through right now. Like, I don't want to write about tinsel and mistletoe and, you know, holidays and sleigh rides, because this isn't that kind of year for me. I lost my dad in July, and, you know, dealing with that in the middle of a pandemic and not being able to celebrate him and have a funeral the way, because he was so loved by so many people, and we had to do this little small group, you know, that couldn't, like, the singer had to stand in the back with a mask on, you know, just, it felt so wrong. We couldn't say goodbye the way we would have wanted to for Dad. And so many people some people don't get a chance to say goodbye at all because of what's going on with COVID. So I said to Diane, I want to write a song, but I want it to be truthful. I want it to acknowledge what's going on, but maybe have some sort of hope, because Christmas is hopeful for people, you know, and even when things are bad, it's like, well, at least we'll try to do Christmas, you know? So there were two lines that stuck in my head. One was the very first line of the song, which is, you know, we're living in a world that's not the same. And the line, maybe we'll have Christmas this year. You know, we may not have Thanksgiving. We may not be able to do this. We may not be able to do that. But maybe we'll have Christmas. So we started writing. And within an hour, we had come up with this tune. And we were really happy with it. And we recorded it on my phone. And we sent it to Colleen Allen and Ted Quinlan and Ben Whitman and Ross McIntyre, and said, do you guys have some time in the next week to record this? And then called the studio, called George Rontine over at Number 9 and got in there. So literally within 2 weeks, the song was written, recorded, the vocals were done. And then Drew Jureka did some strings for us. So we had two different versions. We recorded two, like more acoustic, you know, beautiful string arrangement. And then one that's a little more rockin' with Ted doing this killer electric guitar solo on it. And then had it all recorded and released it. And people are kind of going, oh my God, yes, this is how we feel. Because it's not sugarcoating anything. It's just going, this sucks. You know, this year has sucked. And here's why. We're doing this, we're doing that. But maybe we'll have Christmas. Maybe, because we need Christmas. We need something to look forward to. So maybe it'll happen this year. And that's how the song came about.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, Heather, I'm reminded of that drive on the coast of Vancouver when I was chatting with you about just writing. And so I'm so happy to see you writing these songs more, because they, you know, everyone needs a little bit of Heather Bambrick's heart in their life.
Well, and you know, I look at you guys, the writing that you guys do, I don't put myself in that category, but I like trying things and I like collaborating. And I think that's been even more of a challenge too with what's going on in the world. We don't get to collaborate in the same way anymore.
For sure.
So that's a different kind of struggle again, but we managed to make this, so we're happy.
Yeah, and it's very beautiful.
It's so beautiful. We're gonna end with the video of Heather's new single. Please go to her website and check it out, or Bandcamp to purchase, because the majority of the income comes straight to Heather that way. And thank you so much for being here. We love you so much.
Love you both. Thank you so much.
For all that you do for, you know, for the world.
Anytime, anytime and always, and same to you. And thank you for this. Thank you for this amazing thing. And I'll keep plugging Music Arts Collective. Get people to go to this website and keep supporting you in what you're doing.
Thank you, Heather.
Lots of love, you guys.
You too.
Bye.
Give me just a second to get this going. Okay. Bye, guys. Here's this video.
Have a great day, everybody.
And of course, I made a huge mistake and shared the wrong video, so now here is the video. Enjoy.
Not the same. A whole new set of rules and a different game. And though the road ahead is not so clear, maybe we'll have Christmas this year. We're staying far apart and hiding smiles. We're missing friends and family across the miles. If there is just one wish that I could share, maybe we'll have Christmas this year. Has been so hard, everything has changed. The world that we once knew has all been rearranged. It's not just me and you and what we're going through, it's everyone. What's it gonna be when all is said and done? The birthdays that we missed, the weddings too. We couldn't say goodbye the way we wanted to. If there is just one thing that we'll hold dear, maybe we'll have Christmas this year. Our dreams of yesterday have lost their shine. We changed our old routines and we found more time. Now it's December and we're still here. So let there be Christmas. We all need Christmas. Maybe we'll have Christmas this year.